Roblox has an abundance of RPG games. Like Deep Woken, Pilgrammed, World Zero, or even Blox Fruits, if you can consider it one. But looking past all the generic anime RPG games though, there was one game I used to play, a game that now shriveled up and simply disappeared into the realm of forgotten games. If you've been playing Roblox for a while, you might have seen a RPG game called Shadovia on the front page quite a while ago. If you don't know what I'm talking about, or simply have forgotten about it, don't worry. You're not the only one. As of right now this game stands at about 20 concurrent players, which is far off from its peak of 5,000 players. It's a shame how this game died out as quickly as it rose to fame. Simply being forgotten by many. You may be wondering, what happened? As for that I'm not too sure. I do know that it is quite common for these RPG games to rise and fall due to the replayability of these games and other factors. If we look at other games similar to Shadovia, such as Pilgrammed or voxlblade, we can see similar patterns. But none of them has fallen to the extent which Shadovia has. Just for reference, Pilgrammed has fallen from about 20,000 players to about 800 players, which is a decrease of 96%, which is still somewhat decent for a Roblox game. Voxlblade fell from 10,000 players to about 500 players, which is a similar drop to Pilgrammed. Whereas Shadovia went from 5,000 players peak to about 25 players, which is about 0.5% of the game's peak player count, or in simple terms, a decrease of 99.5%, which is about 10 times worse than the other games I used as examples. I know some of you guys might think it's silly to compare these games. Like, Omgnocum, how dare you compare these completely different games to Shadovia? Trust me, they're the same. Or at least in a RPG aspect. Gosh, I'm gonna offend so much people. They have similar game structures, open world, huge map, limited content, so when you finish the game there's nothing else you can do. Anyway, let's start off with some theories I have to why Shadovia became a ghost town. Now let's hop into the game, as one of the problem resides within the game itself. One of the big complaints about this game is that the fighting aspect is somewhat boring and too easy. I can see where people are coming from. I don't know how everyone else played the game, but what I did was just used the slime mount for everything, which is somewhat overpowered. As soon as you unlock this slime mount, the game becomes 1,000 times easier. To craft it, all you need is 4 slime chunks, which is insanely easy to get. You could probably get it as soon as you join the game. All you have to do is kill these slimes over here until you get 4 slime chunks. Okay, that did. Dude, what the heck? Why is it shooting sideways? Dude, my gun is literally going the wrong direction. Who designed this game? Okay, finally, now just do that 4 more times. Okay, time to show you why the slime mount is so OP. So this is what combat looks without the slime mount. As you can see, I am occasionally taking damage, which means the mobs are functioning properly, as all mobs should. Dude, I look so stupid. I had to take off the armor so I can die quicker. Oh, would you look at that, I died. Now if we use the slime mount, you can see that the tables have turned. For some reason the mobs simply stop attacking us. Anyway, you get the point. The only mobs that can hit us are mobs with special attacks, like this guy. Of course, the slime mount strategy stops working later on in the game when all the hard mobs gain special powers and whatever. Anyway, I don't really think the gameplay is boring or that the death of the game is attributed to the fighting mechanics. I mean, how could the game possibly die because of the fighting mechanics alone? I mean, look at Blox Fruits. The game has you do this for 2 hours in a row and has 500,000 concurrent players. Gosh, I'm gonna offend so much people. One of the biggest complaints is the lack of updates. Unfortunately, RPG games are one of the most time-consuming games to update, which is why many of them fail to keep their player count after the release. Plus it appears the owner also feels this way. Of course there are some easy ways to update the game, such as adding rebirths, and copy and pasting areas, recoloring them and changing them slightly. Anyway, I don't think they would do something like that, so updating the game would probably take a long time. And I don't think his main focus is shadovia anymore. Before I explain why, let's briefly explain what Shadovis RPG is so you can better understand what I'm gonna say. Shadovis RPG is a game Drager and his team created on before they started to work on Shadovia. It has had its own rise and fall like most RPG games. They recently updated it, and now it's currently doing a lot better than Shadovia. Okay, explanation finished. When asked if he would continue update Shadovia, or Shadovis RPG, he says he is working on Shadovis RPG. Apparently Shadovia is blacklisted. And that if he were to update Shadovia only the existing player count would play. Plus Shadovis is doing a lot better than Shadovia. Even before they recently updated it. So he has more reason to give up on Shadovia and work on Shadovis RPG instead. Also apparently his new big project doesn't have shadow in its name, so he is probably gonna make a new game entirely instead of working on Shadovis RPG or Shadovia. Anyway, it turns out Drager has a update schedule, so my theory of the game developers giving up on the game just got disproved. So the Shadovis update just released recently, so let's cross that out. Then he also plans to make a new mystery RPG game, so that's cool. And then finally we have the Shadovia update. Will it bring back Shadovia? Who knows. Of course after that he will take a very long moment of silence and work on their new project. Which is going to be a RPG game to nobody's surprise. Anyway, I guess it's clear that the developers have decided to move on to a new project, and will probably stop working on Shadovia after the final update releases. If the game were to suddenly explode, I feel like they would probably continue working on it, but that seems unlikely in the game's current state. As for what will happen, I guess we'll just have to wait until that update releases. Will it go back to normal? Or will it stay blacklisted? Who knows? But if it's true that it's blacklisted, then I guess we can't really expect much for the game's future. Anyway, I guess that concludes my explanation. Of course my reasoning for the game's death might not be the most accurate one out there. I'm not the most experienced when it comes to researching games and understanding what makes a game successful, so I probably missed out a lot of factors that can affect the player count. I just made a lot of assumptions backed by correlations with similar games which also experienced a fall in players and Discord messages from the developer. Despite that, I hope you enjoyed this video and give it a thumbs up. Also, my channel is dying, so if you subscribe it will really help. Please, I only need like 10 more until I'm in the green again. Anyway, that's kinda it for today. I might make more of these types of videos if this one does good, cause I kinda spent a lot of time editing, and yeah.